What a shocking 2 days for the Serie A. Shocking. But we'll touch on that later. PSV 3. Juventus 1. Juventus are knocked out of the Champions League. Thiago Motta's first campaign in the Champions League as Juventus manager ends in embarrassing fashion. I'll be honest. That's the best word. Embarrassing. I don't even feel like Juventus fans are disappointed. I feel like they're fuming. I feel like they're angry. And rightfully so. Because you can get knocked out. You can lose a game of football. But you can still lose with your head held high. Juventus didn't get knocked out today with their heads held high. Thiago Motta did not get knocked out of the Champions League with his head held high. That was an embarrassing performance. Embarrassing. And there's so many things that went wrong. There's so many things that went wrong in 120 minutes of football against... Listen, I mean no offense. I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. It's a good PSV team, but they're not as good as Juventus made them look. They really aren't. That PSV team, in the first half, I feel like they were a little bit cautious, but they sensed fear. Football, it's a game of momentum, but I feel like in the first half, they looked at Juventus and they saw a team that was scared. They saw a team that was petrified. It didn't look like a team that headed down to the Netherlands with a 2-1 advantage. No, they came into this game as underdogs. And you know how crazy that is? You know how crazy that is? Juventus away to PSV whilst having a 2-1 advantage. Yet you could just tell from the body language, from the character of these players, from the way that they were playing the game. They looked petrified. They genuinely looked scared. The fact that they couldn't string 3, 4, 5 passes, I knew what was going on. I was like, yeah. The atmosphere, it's hostile, it's intense. It's a pressure moment. This isn't a Serie A game against Empoli. This isn't a Serie A game against Genoa. No. I saw it from the first few minutes. I was like, these guys look scared. These guys look scared. They look petrified. They look nervous. Somebody needs to tell them, lock in. Lock in. And I'll be honest with you guys, maybe, just maybe, there's a reason why there's been a discourse around the whole of Juventus this season as to who is the right captain. Because let's be honest, as a captain, you're supposed to lead by your performances. You need to rally the troops, but at the same time, when you sense your teammates are scared, when you sense they're nervous, the captain, you calm them down. You calm them down. And I'll be honest, first half, I looked at PSV and I was like, they know where they can beat this Juventus team, and they know this Juventus team is scared. In the second half, they smelt blood. That's the best way to put it. They came out in the second half, they smelt blood, and they were like, they don't want it. They don't want it. But we want it. That PSV second half performance was ridiculous. From everything. From a physical standpoint, from a technical standpoint, from a tactical standpoint. Even individually as players, they fought harder. They got stuck in. They won the second balls. They literally outfought this Juventus team. And there's a reason why Juventus are out. And that's why I said, you can get knocked out. You can lose a game of football. But to go out like that, to go out like this, I'll be real, it's disappointing, man. It really is. It really, really, really is. Like, I'm not here telling you guys Juventus were one of the favourites to win the Champions League. No, but I genuinely looked at this team and I was like, there's some promise. They're beginning to find their feet. They're beginning to build some rhythm. They're beginning to find some chemistry. It would be nice to see them maybe get to the quarterfinals, maybe even the semi-finals. It would be nice to see this young team, to see this young manager come up against some good teams, some good managers. It would be nice to see where they stand, how far the gap is. But when you're losing to PSV, and I genuinely mean no offense, but when you're losing to PSV like that, big problem, big trouble, big gap. Because it's now not just a gap physically. It's not just a gap technically. There's a big gap mentally. In terms of the player performances, I'll be honest, guys. There's a few players that really didn't step up. And there's a few players that, just in my opinion, they just not cut out for it. That's just the best way to put it. They just not cut out for it. Now, every dog has its day. What does that mean? It means every now and then, a player that's not good will score you a goal. Every now and then, a player that's not good will get a man of the match. But it doesn't mean they're good in the long run. I'll be honest, I'm just going to speak on a few of them. Nico Gonzalez, it genuinely felt like Juventus had a defensive winger on the pitch today. He was a player that was there just to help the team defensively, to win his duels, to get stuck in. As soon as Juventus get the ball, as soon as they get into the final third, the decision making, boy, don't even get me started. The decision making, it was poor. There was a moment towards the end, the ball comes to him on the 89th minute, and I'm thinking, Juventus have finally gotten the ball into PSV's half. Hold on to it. Try to win a corner. Wait for your team to push up. You never know. You never know. You might be able to score a goal in the dying minutes. 89th minute, he volleys it outside of the stadium and it smashes my car window. I feel like, listen, I admire the fight he puts in, the fact that he gets stuck in, he's tenacious, he's aggressive, he carries the ball. But the icing on the cake with that Nico Gonzalez performance was when he picked up the ball and he carried and he carried and he carried and he carried. And Dusan Vlahovic is literally right there. And I'm thinking, you're going to pass the ball now. Okay. Keep carrying. You're going to pass the ball now. Okay. Keep carrying. Come on, you're going to pass the ball now. Okay. Keep carrying. And then he gets tackled. There's a term that I like to use when describing players. And I don't know if it's a term that a lot of people have heard before. I call it tunnel vision. Okay? Tunnel vision. If a footballer is tunnel vision, it means it's a player that plays with their head down. Nico Gonzalez, he plays with his head down. There's a reason why he can't spot those passes. There's a reason why so many times he makes the wrong decision. Conceição, tunnel vision. There was a period in the second half. Kolo Muani gives it to him. Conceição carries. If he fed Kolo Muani one-on-one with the keeper, I promise you, he didn't make the pass. And even Kolo Muani, he turned around, he was like, what? What are you doing? I'm attacking the space. Pass the ball into the space. Tunnel vision. Tunnel vision footballers, they won't get you far. I'll be honest with you. They won't get you far. Because they play with their head down. They don't scan the pitch. They can't carry whilst playing with their head up. If you've ever played football and you've played with somebody that's tunnel vision, you know the frustration. And I've been watching Juventus this entire season. And I've watched every single one of their new signings. And the reason why I've come out numerous of times and said, I'm not really a big fan of Conceição. Nico Gonzalez, for me, he's a Fiorentina level player. He is not a Juventus level player. These players, they're tunnel vision. And every now and then, they'll score a goal. And everybody would get excited and say, wow, what a performance. They're not good enough in the long run. I'll be honest, they're not good enough because today, I saw it. Conceição, he was poor. Nico Gonzalez, there was fight, but poor in the final third. And I feel like when it comes to the starting 11, I've got some bias to some players which I like. I love Kenan Yildiz. I'm a big fan of Dusan Vlahovic. Big fan of Thuram. Thuram, I feel like he didn't have the best of starts to the season, but in the past 2-3 months, he's become one of the best players. What's happened? All of a sudden, he's on the bench. You play your best players in these games. Because you see, when Thuram came on, he changed the game. Because now you've got a player that can help the team defensively. He's physical. He's strong. He wins his duels in the air, on the ground. But at the same time, you've now got a player that can pick up the ball and carry. Did you see how he was just going through PSV? Coop Miners can't do that. He can't. Locatelli can't do that. I personally loved the duo of Thuram and Locatelli. I loved it. It had technical ability. It had physicality. It worked. It really, 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 really worked. Coop Miners, poor. I'll be honest with you guys, poor. He's been poor the whole season. He shouldn't be starting in these games. He shouldn't be staying on the pitch as long as he did. Like, this is another thing that really annoyed me with Thiago Motta today. I don't know what broadcaster you guys were watching on, but there was a period where Juventus were about to make some subs. And Bangula, Thuram, they were ready. And I was thinking, sweet, they're about to come on. 2 minutes later, they don't come on. They don't come on. The substitution got delayed by 14 minutes. It got delayed by 14 minutes. Do you know what happened in those 14 minutes? Juventus scored and then PSV scored once again. The substitution, the perfect time for the substitution was as soon as Juventus scored. Do you know why? Because there's a reason why I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Football, it's a game of momentum. Okay? When momentum is on your side, capitalize. Pounce. PSV, when momentum was on their side, they ragdolled Juventus. When momentum was on their side, they destroyed Juventus. Shout out Di Gregorio. I'll be honest, there's only 2 good performers in my opinion. Di Gregorio, Timothy Weah, and McKennie. I feel like McKennie had a good game. 3 good performances. When PSV had momentum on their side, they took the game to Juventus. They scored goals. They punished Juventus. Juventus got a goal out of nowhere. Now that happens in football. A ridiculous goal by Timothy Weah. But do you see that goal? It silenced the entire stadium. It silenced everybody. Everybody went quiet. That is when you make the substitutions. Momentum is on your side now. It's on your side. Bring on the fresh legs. Bring on the players with energy. Bring on the game changers. The fact that the substitution wasn't made. It was made after PSV went and scored. Now it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. I'll be honest, look, me personally, big fan of Thiago Motta. Big fan. But the majority of the fact that I'm a fan of him comes from what he done at Bologna. 75% of the reason why I'm a fan of Thiago Motta is because of what he done at Bologna. What he's done in Juve this season, I feel like there's been games where tactically he's got it spot on. Like, so many. So many games where I feel like tactically he's got it so right. But there's also been so many games where tactically he's got it wrong. There's been so many games where the in-game management, in my opinion, has cost Juventus. This PSV game, I feel like the in-game management was poor. I feel like the players individually, their performances was poor. I feel like the players' mentality was poor. So many things you can blame as to why Juventus were knocked out. But I look at it like this. As a manager, when you see your players are struggling, when you see your players, they need guidance, they need support. When you see your players are nervous, they're scared. I'm not saying substitute all of them. As the manager, you're the spokesman. You're the person on the side. You are the person they look up to. You are the manager. Every team is a representation of its manager. So if there's a team that lacks fight, it's because their manager lacks fight. If there's a team that's full of passion, it's because their manager is full of passion. With this Juventus team in the second half, they genuinely looked clueless. They looked short on ideas. They didn't know what to do. And they really lacked like inspiration. They didn't know what to do. And that's where I look at Motta. And I'm thinking, you could see they're struggling. You could see they're tired. What's going on? You've got players on the bench. Kenan Yildiz, I don't know what's going on. Personally, I don't know what's going on. Like, I understand Conceição scored against Inter. Kenan Yildiz for me is easily, comfortably, still the best left winger in the team. Easily, comfortably, still the best number 10. Why am I seeing Nico Gonzalez in the 10? Why? I've been petitioning for this the whole season. Put Kenan in that area. Kenan and Dusan Vlahovic, they've got such a good relationship that we saw at the beginning of the season. What's going on? Why is Kenan on the right, Nico in the 10, and Bangula on the left? The only time that I liked Kenan Yildiz on the right hand side was when Bangula was on the left. Because Bangula I have time for. I don't know what's going on. There were so many things that went wrong. But if I had to pin it down on one thing, mentality. Because you can still win a game of football whilst not playing that well. Mentality, fight, commitment, dedication. Don't let the atmosphere get to you. Kill the sting of a game. It's something that we say in the UK, which is when you go and you play away from home and you come up against a tough team, the crowd, the atmosphere, sometimes the referee might even be against you. They always say, if you feel like you're under pressure and you feel like now you're struggling to do the basics, kill the sting of the game. Even me, when I used to play football, I played at a relatively high level. They used to always say, if we're struggling and we concede, coach would scream, kill the sting of the game. Kill it. Do you know what that means? It means rather than constantly getting the ball and just giving it back to the opposition, hold on to the ball. Because when you hold on to the ball, the crowd, they calm down. The opposition players, they now start chasing you to try and get the ball. After 30 seconds, they start to get tired. They get fatigued. Keep moving the ball. Kill the sting of the game. You know what Juventus done that whole second half? They couldn't kill the sting of the game. Why? Because they couldn't play out of PSV's press. They couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't hold the ball in their own half. So every time they got the ball, they just launched it back into PSV's half. So PSV, they'll come again. And they'll come again. And they'll come again. They couldn't kill the sting. Imagine as a fan, you're sat in the stadium and you're seeing your team. They keep going. They keep going. They keep going. You're going to be sat screaming, shouting. You're happy. Your team is taking the game to the opposition. Juventus never killed the sting of that game once. Never. And it genuinely felt like they only really started to play football in extra time. That's what it felt like. It genuinely felt like they started to play football in extra time. Fair enough, PSV got tired, but maybe, just maybe, it was the fact that some of the good players were now on the pitch. Kefran Turam, big impact. Kenan Yildiz, I don't think he was amazing, but personally, I still would have started him. Dusan Vlahovic, I completely understand. Kolo Muani is on fire. You start the player that's on form. But I personally would have still brought on Dusan Vlahovic way earlier. Be brave. Because I can guarantee you guys, if from the start Juventus went into this game thinking we need to score a goal, and they played progressive football, and they played offensive football, they would have gone on to win the game. Juventus went into this game as if we're just going to hold on to this 2-1 lead. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to hold on. You're not going to hold on for 90 minutes away from home. You're not going to do it. And what's going to happen is you're going to get tired mentally, physically. The opposition, they will keep coming. Why? Because PSV know we need to score to go through. Juventus went into this game telling themselves, we don't need to score. We've got the advantage. But guys, if I had to pin it on one thing, mentality. Mentality. And I understand when people say they need leaders. They need players that understand Juve. They need players that understand Italian football. Players of experience. It's a young team. And I feel like they will definitely learn from this. It's a young coach. He will definitely learn from this. But it's definitely a game they could have won with just 1 or 2 tweaks. But I guess we'll see next year if Juventus make it into the Champions League. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll catch you guys on another one.